Session, but
Thank you.
right now because it's the time. So let's get into the session. Assalamu alaikum and good evening, everybody. I'm Varda Zia, the moderator of today's session from the Department of International Relations, Faculty of Social Sciences, National University of Modern Languages, Islamabad. I welcome our special guest, His Excellency Ambassador Salahuddin Chaudhary, our speaker Musawwar Tanoli, and all of the people who have joined the session. Thank you so much, everybody, for your precious time and presence. Today's webinar is jointly organized by Youth Diplomacy Forum and African Youth Parliament. We will talk about Pakistan-Africa cooperation and future prospects of collaboration and cooperation. Before inviting our special guest, I would like to share his a bit introduction with all of you people. He serves as Ambassador of Peace, served as a speaker at COP26, UN Summit on Climate Action, Glasgow, United Kingdom. He served as a founding executive member of Muslim, Jewish, and multi-faith forums in the United Kingdom. He also serves as an activist for gender equality, tolerance, and human rights. He corely and purely believes in freedom's life and humanism, conflict resolution, and also has some experience in cultural diplomacy. So it seems like we have so much to learn from him. So I would like to invite His Excellency Ambassador Chaudhary Salahuddin to kindly share his experience on the particular topic with the people.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Okay. Now, thank you very much for having me with you in this international webinar conference. And the subject is very, very important. And I think worldwide expected that the future lies in Africa. Well, I begin my talk with a little preamble. Some years ago, whenever one thought of Africa, words like disease, poverty, crisis came to mind. Over the years, the resilient people of the African continent have turned adversity into opportunity. Although challenges plaguing the African continent still prevail, the courageous fight that these nations have put up is nothing short of extraordinary. Presently, Africa is home to 7 out of 10 of the fastest growing economies in the world, thus rightly called as the continent of the future. It is also known as the youngest continent with 60% of the population under the age of 25. That is very, very important. Precisely, this will make up the foundation of Asia's future relations with Africa. Here, before my narrative, as a prologue, I wish to poetize the atmosphere of this international webinar by reciting the translation of a Urdu piece from the subcontinent's paragon bard, that is a poet, Faiz Ahmed Faiz, celebrating African anti-colonial evolutions. Now, while I recite, I would like this to be accompanied by a piano recital to make it more melodious and euphonic. There you are. Here I recite. Ladies and gentlemen who are listening to me and hearing me, and also viewing me. Now, the poem. Arrive, Africa, come. Arrive, Africa, come. I have heard the ecstasy of your drum. Arrive, Africa, come, I have heard the ecstasy of your drum. Arrive, the beating of my blood has become mad. Arrive, the beating of my blood has become mad. Arrive, I have lifted my forehead from the dust. Arrive, Africa, I have lifted my forehead from the dust. I have scratched from my eyes the skin of grief. I have scratched from my eyes the skin of grief. I have released my arm from pain. I have released my arm from pain. I have clawed through the snare of helplessness. I have clawed to the snare of helplessness. Arrive, Africa. Isn't it beautiful? It's all about Africa, welcoming Africa. This is a translation made by Victor Kiernan. So I have my tribute to him. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as I begin, Africa was known as the dark continent, I must tell you, ladies and gentlemen. Africa was known as the dark continent because it remained unexplored for a fairly long time by the Europeans, and because it remained unexplored, as I said, fairly long time by the Europeans, and because of the savagery that was expected to be found on the continent. Factors that made it difficult for the explorer to venture into the continent of Africa were the largest desert in the world, the Sahara, standing a natural barrier for the European explorers. Originally, the term dark continent came to be used by British explorer Henry Stanley in the 19th century to describe a continent largely unknown and mysterious to the Europeans. Now, historically, ties between Africa and Asia are not new. For centuries, there was considerable migration and commerce among societies on opposite sides of the Indian Ocean. Trade and other economic relations between Africa and Asia existed long before colonialism. In reaction to colonialism, political issues came to the fore as anti-colonial activists from the two continents and began establishing contacts with each other in the early decades of World War II. A number of Asian countries gained their political independence. In solidarity, they championed the cause of freedom in Africa. Very important. They were the contributors, championed the cause of freedom in Africa, most of which was then still under colonial rule. While much progress had been made in the two regions over the years, especially in the political sphere, they still share daunting problems of economic and social development. Despite the opportunities offered by globalization, countries in Asia and Africa continue to be marginalized. Compared with just a decade ago, Asia now looms larger in Africa's field of vision. For historical reasons, Africans used to pay attention only to Western countries. Now, this has changed. We are shifting our eyes to Asia, according to a very senior African politician scholar. Once a dark continent, as I said earlier, Africa today is definitely happening continent. A lot of activities, things are happening all around. All major powers across the globe have recognized this significant positive change across most of sub-Saharan Africa. Africa has made a turnaround from deep depths that it had reached in the last century, and it is today on the mend. Africa is home to over half a dozen of the fastest growing countries of this decade. Despite a few lingering ethnic and religious conflicts and governance issues in some countries, the people of this vast region are demanding and getting better governance, democracy, the rule of law, and transparency like never before. Great. Africa, hip hip hooray. The increased engagement of Asian powers with Africa over the last 2 decades has led to a plethora of studies analyzing the evolving relationships from a variety of angles. It is clear that China and Chinese economic and political strategies in Africa have caught the greatest attention. India coming second at a substantial distance with increasing competition from emerging powers like South Korea, Turkey, Malaysia, and the others. The African continent today is very important as it is so diverse, dynamic, rich in its tradition and culture. It is the second largest continent in the world with 54 sovereign states. Out of 57 members of OIC, that is Organization of Islamic Conference, 27 members are from African countries, an African continent that is. Africa is rich in natural and mineral resources and is called world's storehouse of strategic raw materials. While 80% of world's platinum and chromium reserves, 60% of diamond reserves, and 40% of gold reserves are located in African continent, like the countries like Angola, South Africa, Kenya, Ghana, Morocco, Sudan, Tanzania, and Zimbabwe, where I was assigned once. They are rich in gold, diamonds, gas, rice, copper, tea, just name it, cocoa, cotton, metals, and oil resources. Africa has become the center of attraction for major powers and important countries such as the United States, China, European Union members, and India. It is receiving renewed focus from all over the world and is being seen as the continent of the future. The continent of the future. I repeat that. Now, Asia's rising economic footprint in Africa became a significant talking point, and the literature on Asian influence in Africa, often dubbed as a new scramble for Africa. New scramble for Africa, which flourished. The major Asian countries established long-term relationships with Africa, and economic relations between them deepened. To African exporters, Asia is an enormous market that they have only begun to tap. Asian businesses, in turn, are beginning to more systematically explore how they can sell their goods in Africa, especially in countries where economic growth has been strong. As a source of imports for Africa, Asian countries often are able to provide industrial equipment, fertilizer, and consumer goods at prices far lower than partners in the north. Other imports include pharmaceuticals, transport machinery, consumer goods, construction materials, textiles, and iron and steel, as well as motorcycles, steel products, electronics, garments, construction materials, and other goods. Africa, ladies and gentlemen, has rightly been labeled as the continent of the future, as I reiterated earlier, owing to its promising economic potential, lucrative investment opportunities, abundant natural resources, and most importantly, due to its high percentage of young population. For a country like Pakistan, where economic activity has received a boost in the wake of the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, CPEC, Africa is a land of endless opportunities. opportunities. For Africa, among Asian countries, Chinese investment and official financial flows to Africa grew substantially, and Chinese trade with sub-Saharan Africa increased by leaps and bounds. Much of this was due to the massive growth in exports of crude oil and other minerals, such as copper from Africa to China. Although African imports of Chinese manufacturers and machinery and equipment also grew rapidly during this period. Chinese investment, including private sector, has also grown in Africa. Most useful current development is its road and build initiative. I'm sure most of you, ladies and gentlemen, are aware of it. The most striking feature of China-African relations is the unprecedented growth of official finance from China to Africa, predominantly channeled through the China Exim Bank in the form of concessional loans for infrastructure development in return for resources. Any talk of third world solidarity without Africa is absurd, because Africa's contribution to liberation struggles, truth and reconciliation, non-aligned movement, third world literature, art, poetry and music is truly staggering. Africa is benefiting from a growing Asian interest in the continent's investment opportunities. Firms from the Republic of Korea invested hundreds of millions of dollars in various African ventures. Malaysia first set up its Malaysian Technical Cooperation Program. Malaysia's giant Petronas oil company has oil production or exploration ventures in a dozen of African countries. Global environment and degradation as a dangerous phenomenon is causing both Asia and Africa continents on a precipitous threshold of climate change challenges. They are coming together vis-a-vis the developed world in creating a viable mechanism to address the scourge and save nature and humanity from ensuing catastrophe. To an average Pakistani, Africa means a faraway continent, a land of spectacular beauty, game parks, forests, safaris, sometimes convulsed by wars, famine, or even natural disasters. The Pakistani press, in general, gives little coverage to Africa except when a coup d'etat or a political upheaval makes it newsworthy. All such stereotypes are not only removed from objective reality, but are also an impediment in the true appreciation of the continent. Economics is important. Pakistan offers itself as a melting pot for positive global interest by providing enhanced connectivity and economic basis as development strategy. Pakistan, with its new initiative of Engage Africa, that's a new policy, Engage Africa, wants to build upon existing relations with African partners and open avenues of mutually beneficial collaborations. Islamabad aims to deepen, revive, and reinforce its relations with African countries. Pakistan is offering
Excellency, we can't hear you.
regional organization, non-aligned movement center for South-South technical cooperation, and so on and so forth, including OIC. Pakistan has played an important role in the decolonization of these countries, and maintenance of peace by Pakistani soldiers through the UN peacekeeping missions are indeed commendable. Now, a few years ago, I'm just about to conclude my session. A few years ago, whenever one thought of Africa, words like disease, poverty, and crisis came to mind. Over the years, the resilient people of the African continent have turned adversity into opportunity. Although challenges plaguing the African continent still prevail, the courageous fight that these nations have put up is nothing short of extraordinary. Presently, Africa is home to 7 out of 10 of the fastest growing economies in the world, thus rightly called as the continent of the future. The main objective of Pakistan's foreign policy is to promote foreign relations through economic diplomacy. Despite challenges, there is a great potential for mutually beneficial relations with African countries. Pakistan shares its experience in the fields of science, technology, information technology, telecommunication, agriculture, and agro-allied industries. There is a great potential for further promoting Pakistan Africa ties in all fields with the help of more people-to-people contact. Now, under the Engage Africa policy, the government-to-government cooperation between the countries will create new opportunities for collaboration in private sectors and explore new markets. Conclusively, ladies and gentlemen, Africa is full of economic opportunities. Various sectors in which Asia is capable of exporting should be brought to the light in terms of potential and capacity. South Asia's investors and manufacturers would come up with innovative ideas that in turn greatly benefit the economy and help create sustainable trading channels. Indeed, there is a great potential for the African region. There's a great potential for African region, including Pakistan and South Asia, to continue tapping and enhancing all-encompassing relationship with African continent that will see larger prosperity and well-being for both. That